Hello, and welcome back to another Living Life Ministry video blog. Today we're going to be talking about something that troubles all ages, from adults to teenagers to children. And it's something that we try to teach our children how to deal with at a very young age. But sadly, it's something that doesn't get taught well enough a lot of the time. I'll give you a clue a little bit of what I'm talking about. Recently, I went to see the re-release of The Lion King in 3D in theaters, which was a great joy for me. I loved the movie when I was growing up. The movie offered so much for young kids because it told of a compelling story of a lion growing up, and I think when we're children, we really embrace the stories of growing up. And if you don't know the story, I'm going to tell you little parts of it. It kind of tells the story of a young cub who is destined to be king. And what happens is his uncle, who was denied the throne because his brother was older and stronger, decides to kill his brother. And he convinces the young cub, Simba, that Simba was to blame for the father's death. And Simba ends up running away through the encouragement of his uncle. Instead of facing, the community and, stepping up to the fact that his dad was dead. And in turn, the uncle was able to take the throne because his brother was dead and Simba had run away. And then since he ran away, he was all alone, and he comes across two other kind of like outcast kind of figures, and they teach him a model called Hakuna Matata, which means no worries, basically, or more specifically, bad things happen, and there's nothing you can do about it, so why worry about anything? And in taking it back to us and the video, we have our own troubles like this all the time. No, we may not be lions, and our uncles may not frame us for killing our fathers or anything like that, but we all come across troubles when we're young. It's usually things like we spill a glass of milk, and we'll run from it because we don't want to get in trouble. But people tend to get more angry with us because we don't face the fact that, oh, it's just, I spilled some milk and I need to clean it up. Our parents try to teach us not to do that, but at a young age we learn kind of how to run away. And as we get older and bigger problems come up, they can be as big as, dealing with, your parents' divorce, or your own relationship problems, abusive situations, addictions, anything you can possibly think of, or even something that's smaller. You tell a lot of white lies, or you don't always take care of your family the way you should, or you're late all the time, or whatever the case may be. A lot of people will start running away from their problems. They'll start coming up with excuses, or actually just literally run away. They'll avoid the people they're in conflict with. They'll avoid their families. And a lot of the cases, the things that they're running from, they turn into. In a lot of cases where people are abusive, they're abused as children, they grow up to be abusive parents or spouses because, they're running from that and they don't know how to deal with it, and they end up retaliating and basically becoming the monster they're running from. And in Simba's case, what happens is that in The Lion King, he runs away and he meets these two guys, and they teach him Hakuna Matata, and they live in the wilderness for ages and until he grows up. And it's not until a friend finds him and is like, "What are you doing? Your home's in jeopardy. It's being destroyed. Your uncle's destroyed it. Everything's dead. There's no life anymore." And because Simba's adopted this very passive mentality, he feels he has no responsibility. He doesn't, bad things happen. Why? There's nothing you can do about it. And and he even thinks even if he wanted to help, he can't do anything. He's not his father. He's not this great king that once was. He's the guy who ran away. And that happens a lot with us too. Once we start running away, we start looking down on ourselves. We start believing that we can't fix the problem. We can't deal with it. We're not strong enough. A lot of kids in school, when they're growing up, they have trouble with a course, like a specific subject. Let's say it's math, and they don't want to go to math class, so they start skipping that class, or they pretend they're sick because they don't want to face one class. And then they start getting behind on all the classes. And then they start thinking that they're stupid because they're failing, but in all reality, they're just having a little bit of trouble with the one course. But it becomes so overwhelming so fast that, the person will start thinking really negative things about themselves and preventing themselves from actually facing their troubles. So what happens in the movie is, between Simba's former friend and reacquaintance with that person, and the wise old baboon named Rafiki, kind of inspiring him and saying, he takes him on kind of a mystical journey where he realizes that, he is strong enough to deal with it. That his father, who is this great king, resides in him, it lives inside him, and that, he can step up and face this problem because his father will always be with him. The kings of the past are always watching down, and that's just a beautiful message right there. And I think that's something that we forget a lot of the time, especially when we're dealing with our problems, is that, not maybe our fathers aren't the great kings of the past. Sometimes in some people's cases, their father can be the villain of the story, or their mother can be, or their brothers or sisters, or their peers. But there is a Father who's looking out for you, who's giving you strength. And that Father's God. God gives us strength, hope, love, and the will to move and move forward. And it's when we run from our problems that we ignore God, that we put him to the side and throw him away and say that, there's nothing you can do. But with God, you can do anything. With God, God can give you the strength to do anything. And the best thing, one of the greatest gifts that God has given us is a brain. In The Lion King, Rafiki whacks Simba on the head. And Simba said, "Why would you do that? What was that for?" And he says, "Well, the past can hurt, but how I see it, you can either run from it or you can learn from it." And he swings at Simba again to hit him in the head, and Simba ducks. It's a very similar message as to what we have now. God gave us a brain. He gave us a mind. He gave us wisdom. He gave us the power to think. And with that gift, that gives us an ability to, when we have problems, not just to run from it, but to learn from it. To say, oh, I screwed up here. How can I make amends, and how can I make it better? And how can I do it right the next time? When we run from it, say, whoa, I screwed up, I can't deal with this, we're just going to be in the same place or even a worse place than we were to begin with. So God does give you those strengths. God does give you those gifts. But, I don't want to bash the outcasts in the movie from The Lion King. Like, Hakuna Matata means no worries. That's something valuable there too. Bad things do happen, and sometimes you can't do anything about them. Sometimes, weather strikes on a wedding day, or, you keep stubbing your toe or bashing your head. You're just having what we would call bad luck in the day. And sometimes bad things happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. And sometimes that thinking can be a really positive thing. If someone in the community, and no matter how you try to give them a good impression, doesn't like you, well, you can worry about it and stress about it, or you can be like, you know what, sometimes this stuff happens, there's nothing I can do about it, and move on. There's small stresses, those little stresses in life that kind of build on us. Hakuna Matata is a brilliant, brilliant strategy to be like, you know what, that really doesn't affect my life. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to waste my energy and my time with concerning myself with little things that don't really matter. But for the things that do count, the things that affect your life, there are responsibilities, our duties, our mistakes. We have to step up. We have to learn, like Simba learned, that sometimes we have to go back home. Sometimes we have to go to the source and deal with what happens. Now, in Simba's case, when he does return home, he realizes that it wasn't his fault that his father's died, that it was his uncle's doing. But it wasn't until he faced the problem that he realized that he wasn't the monster, that he wasn't the person that had to run away. It's by embracing and realizing what his duty was that he returned and had a new relationship with his father. And the same goes for you. The best way to establish a relationship with God is do as God would want you to do. You always hear people who are Christians saying, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Now, the question I ask you is, what should you do? If you have a problem, if you have something that you're running from, is it better to run from it or to stop, learn from the situation, and tackle it again. Keep going and keep fighting and take on that responsibility. God wants you to, and I believe that in most cases you want to too, and it's not going to be easy, but it's something that will definitely make you happier in the long run. It's not until we embrace life and say, you know what, there are going to be hurdles, but I can take those on. That's when we really start to feel happiness, because even in the moments we fail, we see it as a learning curve, not something that has to beat you down. Liberation and freedom is in realizing that God will always be there. God has given you all the tools you need to survive and to live and to be happy. So if you haven't seen The Lion King, I really recommend going to see it. It is a great story for kids, adults. It's very funny. It's got amazing music, and it gives you something to think about. If a little cub who got, feels like he was responsible for his father's death and ran away from home and allowed the kingdom to fall, can return home, face his demons, and restore life back into his world, you can face your problems too. And God will be there to support you. So thank you for joining in today. I hope you check out The Lion King, like I said, and take care and God bless.